So I was just sent this article on YouTube under the video that I did about this person that you see in the picture. And if y'all seen this picture, y'all already know what story I'm talking about. And shout out to Female G for sending it to me. And they were asking me, and was I planning on doing a follow-up to this story? I think you should, as there was another article written after your commentary, and it sounds like there was tourists targeted. So I'm going to go ahead and read this article, and it's coming from travelnoir.com, and it was posted May 4th, 2021. And title is Mother of Black Tourist Assaulted in La Perla, Puerto Rico speaks out. And I think this is the mother to the one that survived, not him. So this is the mother of the friend that he was with. It said longtime friends Tariq Kadir Lote and James Jackson took a much needed vacation with their girlfriends to Puerto Rico in late April. It was something the couples were aiming to do often, but sadly this trip turned into tragedy. On the last day of the getaway, Lote was shot and killed and Jackson was severely beaten when the young men ended up in La Perla, Puerto Rico. The body of 24-year-old Tariq Lote, resident of Wilmington, Delaware, was found severely burned 3 days after he had reportedly gone missing. Travel Noir had the opportunity to speak with Carolyn Jones, James Jackson's mother, who wanted to shed light on the victim's story, dispelling falsehoods surrounding reports in the media while also helping other tourists stay safe. According to Jones, James and Tariq were concluding a 4-day vacation in the Rio Mar area of Puerto Rico. They were on the way to return their rental car in San Juan when Tariq, who was driving, made a turn somewhere that led them to La Perla. As soon as they turned onto a side street, people started coming up to the car, pulling on the door handles, asking if they wanted to buy drugs, Carolyn Jones told Travel Noir. Tariq pressed the gas to try to get away, but the car ended up crashing into a wall. Jones said that at that point, Tariq attempted to get out and flee, but his door was jammed. He and James both went out of the passenger side, running in different directions. That's when the shots rang out. My son James immediately stopped and put his hands up because one of the bullets landed near him. Some suspects grabbed him and dragged him back toward the car, where they began beating him with all types of objects. He said one of the men came back brandishing a gun, said, "I already killed your brother and you're next," before he could try to run again. They hit him over the head with a sledgehammer and somehow moved him towards some steps that are popular tourist attractions. This is crazy right here. Like, just reading this story right here. And already me reading this actually makes me feel bad with some of the stuff that I said in the initial video and commentary that I said. Because I had some people in the comment section say something feels like there's more to this story than what they put out there initially. And mind you, this piece that was written that I'm reading from was posted on May 4th. So this was a couple weeks ago. Which right around the time that I uploaded the initial video about this story. But they did not put this out there. They didn't put this in the words of the mother of one of the guys who was attacked, the one who survived. Like, listening to them to say that he got hit with a sledgehammer is amazing. He even survived that kind of trauma. It says, sadly, Tariq Lote did not survive and his body was also badly burned. An American tourist from Massachusetts named John, who Jones describes as her guardian angel, found James unconscious on the steps. When he, who was James, came to, he helped him get his mother on the phone to tell her what happened. According to John via Miss Jones, there was a local police officer in the vicinity of where James was laying, but the officer was not rendering aid. So it's just like they were just letting, whatever happened just happen. But this also still goes back to the part where I was saying in the initial video that if you are at a resort in certain areas, just stay at that resort. Like, don't wander off into other areas. And wherever they turned, that was a dead end, literally a dead end. It was only after John and others in the area told the officer what happened in Spanish that she called for backup, not an actual ambulance. As a parent, if I can, I want to help save someone else's child from going through this, Jones said. I want to shed light on what exactly is happening to tourists in La Perla. The local media tried to paint this as a drug deal gone bad, which they did do. And my son and his friend trying to take photos when the locals asked them not to, which is something else they also did. See, now, listening to this and actually getting this, let me just go ahead and say it right now, because like I said, if I'm wrong about something, I can admit that I'm wrong. So let me just go ahead and say this right now. If the family of this individual happens to come across my video and I say that, because sometimes I'll be surprised at the people that watch my content. if they can hear the sound of my voice, let me just say right now that I wholeheartedly apologize for some of the stuff that I said in that video. Is mainly because, what was put out there initially, and also stories that you hear about a lot of tourists who go over to other nations and do what they want to do, and they end up suffering the consequences. And then that just triggered in my mind, like, why would you do that? But only to find out that wasn't the case. And also to some of the people that, was writing in the comment section that, they felt there was more to the story. You were right. Like I said, I can admit when I'm wrong. I have no problem. My pride and ego is not that big where if I'm wrong about something, I don't correct myself. This is me taking self accountability, which unfortunately is a lost art form amongst many. Also, even if someone was in that neighborhood to buy drugs, there is no reason for them to be beaten, killed, and their body burned, and photos shared on social media. Jones added that she shared her son's story on social media. She began receiving messages from other Americans saying they had similar experiences in La Perla, including a black woman whose story was eerily similar to her son's. Now people are questioning, okay, is this a racial thing? Because now you have a black woman that this happened to as well in the same exact area. This whole situation has been a nightmare. The authorities tried to hold my son in the hospital by saying he had a broken leg, and then again at the airport saying he needed to stay to complete the investigation. He's the victim here. We had an x-ray done when he made it back to Wilmington, and no broken bones were found in his leg or feet. Basically, what it sounds like to me, they were trying to keep him there to finish the job. They didn't want any witnesses leaving. So they were trying to tie up a loose end, and her son was a loose end. But thank God he was able to make it back. I just don't understand what is going on, but I needed to speak out. An investigation is ongoing, and although no arrests have been made, Puerto Rican authorities say they have a lineup of suspects for James to identify. While they asked him to return to Puerto Rico to do so, Ms. Jones would rather have it done stateside. I think that would be smart. As more travelers set out to see the world again after the pandemic, she urges everyone to be cautious and aware as they travel. Travel in groups, she said. Do your research on neighborhoods or areas that locals try to present as trendy. If you are staying at a resort, try to stay around that area if you can. This didn't happen to James and Tariq in the middle of the night. It was 5 p.m. in broad daylight. And the way that they framed it, they made it seem like it was at night. So that whole story that they gave out was nothing but one big lie to cover themselves. Like I told my son, who was suffering from survivor's remorse over the loss of a close friend, this could have been anyone. Yeah, like I said again, let me just offer my sincere apologies for some of the stuff that I said, or a lot of the stuff that I said, to be quite honest, in that video, but that's what they painted out there as happening. And like I said before, the people that were saying that they felt there was way more to the story than what they would put out there, y'all were correct. Y'all will indeed correct. Like I said, I get so many stories all the time. I'm not going to be right about every single thing that I talk about. I can admit that I've made mistakes in the past in commentaries that I've done, and I had to come on here and correct myself, some to the point where I just ended up having to delete the original video and just do a follow-up about what actually did happen. But I'm glad that, even though I did that video maybe 2 weeks ago and it's 2 weeks old, it's still a fresh story. And I'm glad that I came on here, and I'm glad I was sent this as a follow-up to this. Because I could have easily ignored it. If I had just ignored it altogether, then I would have felt like the bad guy at that point. But, I'm glad now that it has been cleared up about what happened. It's still, very unfortunate what happened to this guy. That's crazy. That is crazy right there. So for anyone who, if you do so choose to plan to go to Puerto Rico, don't end up in La Perla, apparently, because that place just sounds like a nightmare. But I'm glad that, someone was able to come back from this and, be able to be allowed to tell the story. But they're going to be traumatized forever from this. And this is going to probably affect them in the long run about traveling overseas and everything like that. But I still stand by one thing, though. Definitely, whenever you're traveling to overseas nations or anywhere, and I had to get corrected in the comment section about this when people said, well, Puerto Rico is a U.S. territory. Yes, it is a U.S. territory. It's not a statehood, but it is definitely a U.S. territory that's governed partially by the United States. However, they still have their own laws over there that are not U.S. governed. So, like I said, you still have to be careful about the places that you go. Definitely read the customs of places that you go and make sure that you find out what places you should not be going. And you never know, that could definitely save your life. But y'all let me know what y'all think down in the comments, and I'll talk to you in the next one.